Hello and welcome to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Nina Adio, a social media marketing expert specific to the wedding industry. On this show, I discuss tips to help you DIY your social media, as well as getting the confidence and income to outsource it. Thank you for allowing this episode to come through on your Bluetooth, your car radio, wherever it may be you're listening from today. Now, let's take your wedding business to the next level. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the I Do Wedding Marketing Podcast. Today, I have brought in somebody who can speak about marketing in a way I cannot. It is Kelly Kumler, owner of Kelly Ryann Co. Kelly Kumler is an elementary school teacher turned wedding website and branding expert. I love that. It's a different origin story than the rest of us who started as wedding pros. Kelly uses the language of SEO, engaging website design, and successful branding to bring wedding industry professionals the tools to attract and book the clients they need to provide them with a life they love and a business that they feel they were meant to do. And Kelly, thank you for being here. Judging from your Instagram, you are booked and busy with wedding pros.
Yeah, thanks. I know. I mean, we all go through like our slow seasons, but right now is it's been very busy, so I'm super lucky for that.
Fantastic. Where are you coming from today for everybody listening?
I am in Reno, Nevada. So for people that don't know, like the West Coast or Reno particularly, I think we have the reputation of being like a little Vegas. But we're actually like a 7, 8 hour drive from Vegas, and we're much closer to California, like right by Lake Tahoe, all in that area.
So no good buffets. I'm sorry. I don't know
We
why that's
have
where my
some,
mind went with
but
Vegas. Like,
I
damn.
can't say I
And then
frequent them.
So, Kelly, I think it's great that I really wanted to mention how you're a former elementary school teacher. Very different than most of us who say, well, I planned, I was a wedding planner, or for me, I worked with venues. So, how did you get involved with the wedding industry?
Yeah, well, I think kind of coming from that teacher world, it's very common that people had side hustles or other little jobs that they were doing. It's just like a pretty normal thing within teacher life. And so I had done a few different things, but a few years into teaching, I started doing some like design on the side, designing little logos for teacher stores and things, teaching myself different design programs. And in 2019, got engaged to my husband and started teaching myself wedding stationery. Got into like some different courses in that route. And then in January of 2020, I opened a wedding stationery business, which, the world kind of shifted 2 months later and changed all of that. But I got to connecting with a lot of different people in the wedding industry during that time and really figured out that like I loved working with these other small businesses a lot more than I liked the bride and groom or couples side of it. So kind of, dropped that business, and then a couple years later decided to open this business now, carrying on that design. And it just kind of naturally fell into continuing to work with the wedding industry.
Fantastic. So then you are technically a
I
former
know it's a
model.
little bit. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I love it. And I can see the correlation between the design work and, of course, what you're doing now. You're going to be talking to us all about common SEO mistakes people may be making and how to fix them. But before we can really understand what we're doing wrong, I think we need to really understand what SEO is. So, can you give us like an idiot's guide definition to SEO? And I'm the
Yes.
idiot.
Okay. So SEOs, I mean, what it stands for initially, that's search engine optimization. So most people, when talking about SEO, we talk about Google because it is the biggest search engine, but really it applies to any of the search engines, Bing, Yahoo, whatever other ones even still exist. And basically there are some things that you can optimize within your website, both on the pieces of the site, the like front end, the things that we go onto the internet and see, or the back end that only you as the business owner of that site sees. And there's things that we can do on those pieces to optimize your website and get Google to pull up your content when people are searching for what you have.
Fantastic. So, of course, I'm thinking immediately of social media, which I know is not the only element or really the biggest, perhaps, element of SEO, but are there certain social media sites before we get into, websites? Are there social media sites that are more SEO friendly?
Yeah, for sure. And a lot of them are actually kind of starting to make these SEO shifts. Instagram being one of them, where they're really starting to focus on keywords within captions and even, just in your content. Pinterest is a really big one that includes SEO. They all use different algorithms, between Pinterest and Instagram and what Google's SEO algorithm is, but all kind of following the same idea of using some keywords related to your business so that people can find you.
Yeah, I know I'm always feeling like I am redundant in my captions, but for me, it's just like I want to get those keywords in as organically as possible. I wonder if you're noticing a trend I'm seeing on Instagram, which at the end of a post, people will just type out their keywords. Is that something you recommend people do?
Yeah, I definitely have seen it a lot more lately. And that is one that I will say you probably know more about than I do as far as within Instagram. And I know that there's like an ongoing debate, right, of hashtags versus just keywords and what is the better one. And I don't know, you tell me.
Yeah. I put the keywords in my caption, so I feel like I don't need to add it in there too, but maybe, I don't know, maybe the week this podcast goes out, we'll experiment with it. And
Yeah,
then see, I'll
yeah.
add a disclaimer, maybe I'll do it in between.
Testing.
Yeah. So why is SEO something wedding professionals need to consider for their website?
Yeah, well, we know that, Google is still a really big source of how couples are finding their wedding vendors. So if you and your website can't be found on Google, then it's going to be a lot harder for your vendors to find you. We know, of course, like social media plays such a big role in getting found as well, but Google has not gone away, and that is still a really major traffic source, so making sure that your website is optimized for SEO so that you're being found by those ideal couples. And that can do a lot for your marketing.
Yeah, I think from a social media perspective, if I found someone on social media, but then they didn't exist on Google or couldn't be found, I'd be a little scared. I'd be like, where are they? What's wrong?
Yes. Yeah. I think that's what like is so most people are going to like use multiple sources, right? Even if they find you on Google, they're probably going to go look at your Instagram page too to make sure that you're real and
Mhm.
actually have a lot of the content that they can resonate with. So they both really connect together in that like organic traffic sense.
Yeah, and I think it's particularly important for this industry because it is such a high investment and cost. So
Hmm.
typically the client is spending a lot of money, and that's
Hmm.
why I feel it's particularly important to have that presence also on Google.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, what are some of the most common mistakes that you are seeing, and how can we fix them?
Okay, the first one that has got to be the most common one I see is that people are using the same keyword across all of their website pages. So if you go into really how Google works, if someone is searching a phrase or keyword, for example, Lake Tahoe wedding photographer, then Google is looking through everything it knows to try and serve the best piece of content for that searcher. So if all of your pages are using that same keyword, Lake Tahoe wedding photographer, Lake Tahoe wedding photographer, Google's like overwhelmed. It doesn't actually know which one is going to be the best piece of content. And so you're doing something which is called keyword cannibalization, which is, a rough term, but it is what it's called. And really like causing your pages to fight against each other for that ranking, which can harm your SEO.
Well, let's say I'm a Lake Tahoe photographer listening to this, and I have my home page, my about page, and a gallery. How should I tag those differently?
Yeah, so I always recommend trying to plan out across, however many pages you have on your website, planning 1 to 2 keywords per page, and they should be different for each page. So that could be something like, Lake Tahoe wedding photographer for one page, Lake Tahoe elopement photographer for another page. Typically, if you are a Lake Tahoe photographer, you're also going to be a Reno photographer or, other places in the area. So using, kind of brainstorming a list of different keywords and options, and then definitely going in and doing some research on those to see which ones are actually high performing, and spreading those out across your pages and as they make sense for each page.
That was great because that was a really tangible tip, like a mistake and a really easy way for us to now kind of digest that and fix it. What would be another mistake that you see us doing?
A big one is low word count. So a lot of people, I think they love that like minimalistic design, which I do too. But ultimately, Google is reading the words on your website. So they want a higher word count for each page. The range that they give is typically between 1,000 and 1,500 words per page, which also another big reason why you should hire a copywriter if words isn't your thing, because they can help with that a lot. But some of the pages that are really hard to get a higher word count on are like the contact page. Sometimes we have a little paragraph and a form. So I always recommend adding like your FAQs there. You can kind of include another about you, information about how to get back to your blog, just any other resources you can put there to increase that word count.
Would a review work there, or would that not have as many keywords in it to be beneficial?
Yeah, I think reviews, I mean, sometimes they have keywords and sometimes they don't, but even if they're not like going to necessarily boost your SEO, they're boosting your credibility and still making that conversion within your site.
You probably can tell when someone who is a marketer or website designer writes a review because it was like, I hired so and so for my Lake Tahoe wedding and
Yes.
photography. And, and putting in all those keywords. And
Yeah, I mean, really, you can ask people, as you're asking for reviews, kind of give them some guiding questions saying, if you could answer these in your review, that would be great, because that is a good way to help kind of include some of those keywords.
right, like including where the wedding took place and what
Hmm.
venue. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
Do you have any other mistakes? Because I'll just let you keep going. These are great.
Okay. Another big one is not utilizing Google Search Console. So a lot of people come to me and they're like, yeah, I've got Google Analytics set up. And I'm like, that's fantastic, because it is. It's a great tool that you can really dive into the data of where you're getting traffic, what blogs are getting the most traffic. But there's another tool that's a little less known called Google Search Console, and that is what I like to refer to as like an old recipe box. So if you have your recipe cards in the box, they're indexed, then you can find them. If you don't have cards in there, you're not going to be able to even find those recipes or know that they exist. That's what Google is doing with your content. And within Google Search Console, you can actually index your content to be found. So when you write a post or a new blog post or you're adding a page to your website, Google doesn't necessarily know it's there and live. So you have to tell Google, hey, go search this page so that you know it exists and can be found.
So I had to Google Search Console while you were talking. So I'm asking this for me and for everybody listening. What would be the first step I need to do to get this going? Well, maybe I did it by
Well,
Googling it.
yes, I was going to say literally just put into your search bar, Google Search Console, and it will really walk you through the steps of
Okay.
getting it set up and connected to your domain. And then the first thing from there, I recommend going to the sitemaps tab and submitting your sitemaps. That basically is this little like table of contents of your website and all of the pages that are hosted within your site.
It's like I have no paper and no pen, and I need. I'm like, and I
Like
plan on
now I
doing
need
this.
to do this.
Here we go. Sitemap. I'm writing it on a bill. Any other mistakes you want to share?
Yeah, I think the last one is having multiple or no H1 tags on your site. So all of the copy, all of the text on our websites are tagged in different ways to tell Google like what's the most important, what's the least important. You know, there's basically a hierarchy. So for each of your website pages, you should have one H1 tag, meaning like heading one. It's the most important piece on there. And with that, it should have that focus keyword for that page within that tag. If you have no H1 tags, then Google doesn't know that anything is important on that page. And if you have several, again, it kind of goes back to that like overwhelm that Google feels of like everything's important. So how do I know what I'm actually serving to the searcher?
Is this the same for blogs too?
Yes, absolutely. So as you're writing blogs, you know, typically within blogs, we have like multiple headings, you know, to break up the text. So that first heading or that title should be your H1. And then throughout, you would go into like H2 being the next biggest, H3, and then P is paragraph. And you can have multiple H2s and H3s, and of course, multiple paragraphs, but only one H1.
Wow, this was really helpful. Like just hearing it kind of said so black and white. And it's kind of just easy. Okay, I'm gonna have one H1. Maybe I'll have two H2s. Like if that's what I have to
Yep, yep.
do. Fantastic. Now, for people who have already invested in their website and set it up, is it too late to start implementing these SEO tips and tricks?
No, you can definitely get into SEO at any point. It's better to start now than not at all. So wherever you're at in your website journey, excuse me, wherever you're at in your website journey, definitely start working on that SEO. I do always recommend that if you are doing like maybe you've done kind of a DIY website and you're deciding to invest in a designer, it's so important that you work with someone that really understands SEO and has an understanding of your current rankings. There unfortunately are the horror stories of people coming to me saying like, I used to be ranking for these words, I got my website redesigned, and now I'm not getting any inquiries from Google because there are a lot of pieces that would need to get transferred over with a redesign to make sure that you're holding on to those rankings on Google.
Very helpful. What I'm wondering for people listening, if they have already invested in a website, but they want to revisit the SEO, do you do SEO exclusive packages or would it be everything altogether?
I do, yeah. It is one of the things that I kind of am a little more selective on, I guess I would say, because to me it's so important. I always tell people like my business has two pillars. It is the driving traffic and the converting traffic. And of course, it's the most ideal to have both, but it doesn't do a whole lot of good if you are driving traffic to your site, but then your website really isn't set up to convert that traffic. So I always want to like take a look at a website first and give some feedback before I go into that SEO piece.
That makes sense because I'm sure also if there's problems with the website or other things that need to be fixed, you would want to be able to take care of it all.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what packages do you offer wedding professionals?
So in addition to the like SEO standalone services, I have a brand package that you can also do kind of standalone depending on where you're at in your business. You know, maybe you just want to go for that rebrand and DIY your website, or combine the branding with any of two website packages. So smaller website package that is for more of a template customization. If you're kind of just getting started and ready to have someone take over that design piece, but you're not ready to make that full investment yet, that's a good option for you. And it comes with a DIY your SEO guide so that it walks you through the same steps that I would take for your website, but you do it yourself. Then the other option is the like full custom website, which includes the done for you SEO. We really go through and look at what your rankings already are so we can, you know, keep those rankings or boost them moving over to a new design, and get the whole custom experience.
The teacher part is really coming full circle for me here because as you were talking about the DIY, I was like, I think people with your direction would really be able to successfully DIY because everything you explained in this episode was so clear and I was able to really understand it and think of the tangible steps. And now I'm like, oh, that's where the teacher experience comes in.
Thanks.
So before we do our bonus rapid fire round, how can our listeners find you?
I'm on Instagram way too much. So I'm over there at Kelly Ryann Co. And Ryan has two N's. It's my middle name.
Beautiful.
And then also over on kellyryan.com.
Terrific. And I will link that in the show notes as well. So now some kind of quick rapid fire fill in the blanks. The best weddings have.
I would say a live band. I love a good live band.
Cocktail hour or dessert hour?
I have like the biggest sweet tooth ever, but I would probably go with cocktail hour.
What's your favorite social media platform?
Instagram by far.
Me too. The last book you read?
I'd recently finished Building a Brand Story by Donald Miller, which is like such a marketing, like I can't believe I hadn't read it yet. So if you are in marketing at all, highly recommend.
I'll add it to my list. And when you are in the zone, you are listening to.
I have two go-to playlists on Spotify. One is the Creativity Boost, and then one is called Autumn Vibes, Taylor Swift Autumn Vibes, I think.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like my vibe.
There you go. You got to search it.
Autumn all year round.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for giving us such candid and clear advice. I think anybody listening is going to be able to take some really quick steps. I know I have the Google Search Console tab left open so I can do that right away. And I feel really in control with knowing kind of what to do with the H1 tags on my blog posts and my keywords. So thank you so much for sharing all this with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was very fun.
Yes, if you guys enjoyed this, make sure you message Kelly on Instagram, and I will see you guys on the next Wedding Wednesday.